Welcome to the Pitchwerks Podcast. I'm Scot McTaggart. Over the last 20 years, I've been a sales rep, a marketer, a manager, an executive, a consultant, and an advisor. This show is designed to give you access to my list of contacts so that you can learn more about how to present your ideas at work and succeed in your career.
Startups and salespeople, marketers and managers from the Epicast Network in Pittsburgh. It's the Pitchwerks Podcast.
The big question has always been, we're amazing at, it's in the DNA. We build stuff here, right?
Yes,
the whole
we
region.
do.
It's just, we literally built the country, right?
Yep.
And I think that now the question mark is, can we take those things that we build and bring them to market? And I think that the jury's still out. There's a lot of successes right now, and I think that's where we need to double down.
Hey everybody, it's Scott. It's Wednesday, and it's the Pitchwerks Podcast. Thanks for tuning in. This week, Kit Mueller tells us about why he's bringing an all-new program to Pittsburgh and who it's good for and when you can apply and all the usual details that are useful. I got to tell you, very few people look out for the people that came after them the way Kit does. He's had an open invitation to come on the show for a while. Been trying to get him to come in and talk about this very subject. We're really lucky to have him. We're going to jump in. I'm going to ask you to rate and review the show because I'm kind of a jerk that way. Star rating, write up a review. It's going to be great. Let's talk to Kit. Let's find out about Startup Boost. Applications are going to be due pretty soon, so listen close. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's pop your champagne bottles because the inimitable Kit Mueller has finally made his way into the Pitchwerks Studios. How are you, sir?
Great, sir. Thanks for having me on.
The pleasure is all mine, I assure you. I've been trying to get you in here for 2 years.
I was going to say, we've been working on this for a bit. Thanks.
We have, and I've saved a very specific topic for you that I want to talk about, and you know what it is. You have a very unique view on mentorship. And,
sure.
And if there's one person that I love to have that opinion, it's someone who's been through the grinder themselves, right? I don't want to make it sound worse than it was. I'm not trying to make anyone look guilty by, being in the story. I'm not trying to paint with too broad of a brush. So let me say it a different way. You have had people claim to be helping when they weren't helping. You've seen it up close. And now you're the guy who goes out of his way to make sure that people avoid those pitfalls and you walk the walk. I've seen it, like putting founders under your wing and saying no, stay away from this thing over here. Do this instead. Tell me if you think that's too much. Or...
I think you're right. You're on the right track. I think that when you're starting any new initiative, especially when everything is new, and you're under resourced, and everybody else seems to have more traction, success, and everything. The odds seem to be stacked against you, which is often the disposition of many a new entrepreneur. And new entrepreneur is coming out of campus, is coming off of.
Corporate life?
Corporate life, into town, or just simply a new initiative. I think that a whole set of well-intended people rally around and chime in.
Yes.
I recently got engaged, and I found out that everyone cares about that.
Yes.
And I hadn't felt like a new founder in a long time, but the entire world, it's amazingly humble. By the way, everybody was like, everything is positive. But it's overwhelming. And I felt like that was the disposition of many a founder. And
they're trying to make sure you take good care of Meg. That's all. That's what it is.
That's exactly right.
We're watching.
The world is watching.
We're watching. Your every misstep will be carefully documented.
It's true. But you know what I mean is that there is no malice intent, whether good nor bad. I think one way we can get really objective about this is if it comes from experience. Mm-hmm. That's where to start, right? The advice being offered has to come from the advice should start in the kind of vernacular of when that happened to me, I did X or Y or Z.
You're already off the reservation. I'm sorry. There's a whole lot of people who have not been where you have been, right? And that's what I mean when I say you're walking a walk, right? I have watched from a distance when you could not benefit from me observing it, that you were trying to keep people from steering down the wrong path. And I'm not doing all of this for the purposes of embarrassing you or whatnot, but I think it's a really good way to structure the next part of our conversation, which is you're bringing an early stage accelerator called Startup Boost to Pittsburgh here.
Yes.
And it is very, very, from what I can tell, very founder friendly. There are no fees involved. There is no equity given up. There's a lot of things that feel like Kit is still trying to be good to the people that came after him. And I think that's in character for you. But I also think there are other people out there that maybe don't see the founder's plight the same way. And maybe they see dollar signs, or maybe they see their own reputation and ego being pumped up and whatnot. And that, for all intents and purposes, is why I first asked you to come on 2 years ago. I said, Kit, I need somebody to talk about this. But you're starting an incubator accelerator program in Pittsburgh now. I figured this might be the time to bring it up.
Let me state my viewpoint is that my thing that I can bring to bear, the value I think I can add is I can help people that were in a similar situation as I was. I've made a career of being in an industry I had no business in.
Okay.
Being in and getting my overnight PhD by just full frontal contact with the market, trying to develop a kind of center of influence of that, and then exchanging value, whether that was cash or something along the way since I was like 21.
Yeah.
And the people that helped the most along the way to my success and getting me kind of out of harm's way were the ones that told me, watch your step, don't bump your head there, kind of figuratively, right? Metaphorically.
You have a responsibility when you have power. And to an extent, experience is power, and knowledge is power, and money is power, and all of these different things. And I, take the compliment as it's intended to be taken. I respect when people such as yourself who have been there make time for the people who have not.
That's great. And I appreciate that. I think that no region, ecosystem, whatever the vernacular you want to use, the words you want to use, I think it is beholden to us to do that, whether it's startups or a church or your actual physical community in.
Yeah.
I think that's how you make the leap as a community in growth.
Yes.
And vibrancy and everything.
But people, people a lot of times don't understand how complex starting a business can be.
Sure.
And there's a lot to it. And I'm done kissing your now. All right.
Well, and I appreciate that. I mean, look, it sort of is it is my lens on this whole thing.
Yeah.
And I don't want to question people's motives or anything. I think that there truly is a set of very well-intended people out there offering counsel, advice, and their time. And I just think that we can get to the point where there's some requirements to do so.
And let's be very clear. None of my comments are intended to talk about other incubators, accelerators, or whatnot.
As an entrepreneur, the onus is on us also to sort of use our gut and our best judgment on getting kind of the wheat from the chaff on that advice, right? You have to have your own strong thesis, and everything else has to be measured by that.
Absolutely.
And you get better at that every time. And I got really good at it because I made wrong choices really early on, often, and still do. And
you have to, or else nothing happens.
Right. And failed more times than I'd like to admit. And I think that, now I'm in my mid 40s, and I think that it's on the onus of those of us that, I'm a gum bander. I built companies here in my 20s. I left and I came back, and I'm now in my 40s.
Yeah.
And so I'm more on the community building bent. I'm trying to provide, to rally people around something that should already exist.
That makes sense to me. I think there are a lot of different ways to contribute, but very few of them are substitutes for, let me tell you what I found when I tried this. Yeah. That's a very valuable contribution.
And I think on the macro, I think we as an ecosystem, the big question has always been, we're amazing at, it's in the DNA. We build stuff here, right?
Yes, we do.
It's just, we literally built the country, right?
Yep.
And I think that now the question mark is, can we take those things that we build and bring them to market? And I think that the jury's still out. There's a lot of successes right now, and I think that's where we need to double down.
You're working with Jim Gibbs, good friend of the show, on Startup Boost. And I kind of, because he decided to be in San Francisco and, go do startup stuff. I haven't even mentioned the fact that he's even present in this. But Jim, we love you. We're going to give you a hard time for not coming into the studio, but we do mostly love you still. You guys are bringing this program. I I would like, in your words, to hear what Startup Boost is and also what it is not.
Sure. I also want to shout out to Mitch Turck, a good friend of ours who's also a program lead.
Met Mitch like a few weeks ago.
Oh, great. He speaks very highly of you guys. And obviously Jim is, we're super excited to have him involved. He brings a real, he's actually building a company and scaling it in a large, massive market. And Mitch is a serial entrepreneur. It brings both the business sense and the design sense. And I also he's a very unique perspective on a myriad of things, not the least of which most recently that you can find him in Forbes talking about the future of autonomous travel.
Autonomous vehicles. Yeah, that's what he and I talked about.
Yeah, he's amazing.
And he and Jim probably have volumes upon volumes of things to talk about together. So
the three of us sort of share, the sensibility of the gap in the market. At least one of them that we can help support is when somebody is at that very nascent stage, post idea, but pre real traction or revenue.
Okay.
We sort of borrowed from what the best practices around the world. So this program called Startup Boost.
Yes.
It exists in several countries from LA all the way to Dublin. And this spring cohort that starts in Pittsburgh on April 2nd is a 6-week sprint that we're providing better acceleration to other accelerators, national accelerators, if that fits what happens to your business requires at the time. Investment. Yeah. Hey, if at the time maybe you can, maybe somebody you've gotten traction or there happens to be a product market fit you find, or revenue. And in either three are valid outcomes. The way that we are doing it using this framework that we're trying to match what Pittsburgh needs most, where the rubber's hitting the road here, is every night we'll have a founder speaker that provides real context of what they're doing in their business to do that topic that night, whether it's market sizing or customer market fit or building products that matter. And then we have pitch practices every night. So you get real live fire, saying exactly what this value prop is and why you are special and what wise people should exchange value for that. And then
if you like, I can sell you a few episodes of this show.
And then, basically hold them accountable for 6 weeks while providing them access to the networks that will help them grow, providing resources, the connections to resources. We take no equity, we charge no fees, but conversely, we also don't pay for anything.
Okay, now I'm going to ask you the hardball cynical questions,
sure.
Right? Okay. So anytime anybody says there's no fee,
yep.
Right? Someone asks a question, then who's paying the bill?
Oh, sure.
Yeah, that has to be asked.
So the global Startup Boost effort is a nonprofit.
Oh, is it? Okay.
It is, yeah. But the boots on the ground. At the end of the day, it's a series of 6 nights where we get and throughout, you meet with your mentor. So it is a month and a half real accountability challenge to get to the next step. But essentially, we run this on pizza and beer.
Right.
You know what I mean? There's a curriculum.
But there's still a cost to have all these other different things, right? Like having a website running, having, like an application process. There's costs associated with this.
And we offset them.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't feel like this is a United Way donation that people are making out of their payroll, right?
Right.
So when you say it's a nonprofit, I assume that it's in that economic development sort of an area. Is that?
Yeah. I mean, I think that, honestly, this is a sort of vestigial organ of an effort that was started after Startup Weekend. So, are you familiar with Startup Weekend?
Yeah. Techstars, I think. Do they own it or do they just spawn? I don't even know how that
They run it right now.
Okay.
So I brought Startup Weekend to Pittsburgh. I think it was 7 or 8 years ago, and it was a nice device, community building tool in the region.
Yes.
That I had happened to do in Chicago while a bunch of my crazy other founder friends were doing it here. I saw it. It really.
That's how I first became aware of you. Was Startup Week.
Oh, okay. So we had some experience in that, and we had tried some stuff after that because you leave Startup Weekend, you're sort of like, well, what's next?
Yeah.
We tried this thing called Startup Next. It was a 8-week program. At the time, it was very lean startup. That whole curriculum. Fast forward, what is it? 6 years later, a lot of the guys that were doing this in other regions had found this notion that worked, that the mentor sprint that I mentioned that now is Startup Boost. It's still iterating, much like any startup effort should. We're going to make it match Pittsburgh where it needs.
Okay.
So we're going to have angel investors come and meet. We're going to have actual customers and people that will help drive traction for each of the companies in it. We've gotten an amazing dais of mentors already set up.
Nice.
But then once we have the cohort selected, we'll start to do a little more one-to-one matching.
I'm more than happy to sell you a few mentors that have been coming through the show as well.
So the show and the mentors,
Everything's
I'm adding them
for
a bill.
sale.
Okay, good.
Like literally, if you pick up that chair over there, you just turn it over, there's a price tag. Okay, I will middle anything, right?
So you're a two-sided marketplace is what you're saying?
Yeah, two-side, three-side, whatever it takes, kid. Whatever it takes. It's tech only. Is that fair?
Yeah. So, the competencies right now are tech only. We have a lot of inbound, and as you expect in Pittsburgh, of people starting companies that aren't tech and absolutely are tremendously worthy. And I've helped in them.
Yeah, I mean, you have to.
But we have to be.
You got to draw a line somewhere.
Yeah, we have to be pretty myopic on that.
I was lucky enough to be able to sit in on the Blue Tree Allied Angels screening meeting. I felt so dumb when the life sciences people get up and speak, right?
Sure.
So I use that as sort of an explanation
yeah.
for why you have to know what your boundary is. What's your lane?
Yeah.
And of course, they turn towards the gallery and they like, what did you think? There's a lot of university students in there. And this is, I think, largely intended to be, this is the interactive bit of the show, right? And I said, I don't know anything about life sciences, but that CEO seems like she's got her stuff together. That's as much as I could contribute on a life sciences conversation. Yeah. And I can only imagine if someone were to bring you a really hot idea in the musical instrument space or the life sciences space or whatever, you would have to fall back to secondary sorts of things. Like, does this founder seem like they're a good manager? Does it seem like they have a good attitude? As opposed to, again, I know everything about cellular biology, so of course I know this is a good bet. You got to stay in your lane. You pick tech.
Yeah, I mean, I have meetings, all week that span the globe of, life sciences to, and because I'm blessed enough that people are kind of like, Kit's the startup guy. Oh, he at least he's dangerous enough to introduce you to the right people.
Yep.
And that's sort of the resource I've been providing and will continue to do so. The mentorship that we're providing here is a little more tactical and roll up your sleeves.
There's no question. It's completely different.
Yeah.
Again, let's compare the tech and the life sciences, right? If you have a life sciences company, you have probably 3 or 4 different raises, right? Just to get to the point where you're actually allowed to sell a product.
Just to get approval, yeah.
Yeah, just to get to a point where you're allowed to put the first dollar in the register. Right. So everything about that is different.
Oh, it's totally different, and it's different. The stakes are different. The people are different. The funding is different. The timeline is amazing, and we have a dynamic ecosystem here and growing here of life sciences.
Yes.
That. I spend enough time with the people that are leading that, and I'm amazed at it. It probably could be, one of the biggest growth areas in the region, if not the state. A lot happening in Philly as well, more on the pharma side too, life sciences. But we're pure play tech. This is.
I ask that because I don't doubt there's going to be people that listen to the show who are wondering whether or not they can get in. And we're going to make sure that it comes out in time. So if this feels like it fits for somebody, they should be able to apply. I don't want them to find out that it just closed. Right? Yeah. We're doing it pretty close. I know you had to be careful about your announcement. You obviously you had to have all your arrangements in place and you had to have a space and all these deals had to be in place. But we have a lot of listeners that maybe have an idea, or maybe they applied for something else and they weren't quite ready when they applied, and now this timing works for them. So how would they apply to get in?
Yeah, so the application, it goes from the previous Monday, so Monday until March 15th.
Okay.
We're looking for about 150 applications. I think that's kind of like the...
Yeah. And
the guess...
How many people do you think you would probably want in an ideal universe to accept into the...
Our best guess would be 6 to 8 teams.
Right. Okay.
we welcome solo founders. Often, it helps if you have another person working on it with you that has a complementary discipline. It's not a requirement. The applications will close on March 15th. They have to go to startupboost.org/Pittsburgh.
Okay.
You can also just go to startupboost.org. But and we have the Twitter account and Facebook. We're all over the socials, and mine. But we will have sort of the leaders from around the world judging who gets in on that cohort.
Is it now?
Yeah.
It's not a local thing. It's a team effort.
So we'll have the 3 of us.
Right.
And then sort of probably another 4 from around the world looking at this that have the same lens of what a good outcome could be if a company would qualify.
Well, yeah, if you get 150 applications and there's
Hopefully.
3 of you reading them, right?
Yeah.
That's where my head was going.
Yeah.
It's like, what happens if you get crushed? Well, go back to the Blue Tree thing. We had Catherine in here, let's say November, December, right, of 2018. She goes, 1,000 people apply every year, right? I'm like, you don't have to read them all, do you? Of course the answer is yes.
Yeah.
Right? She does.
Yeah.
Like someone does, and, may as well be her.
Yeah. They're the most active angel syndicate in the Mid-Atlantic?
That's what I think. Yeah.
Okay.
If memory serves, that's right. So again, that's why they're getting clobbered. Out of those 1,000 that they get, they're going to fund, according to Catherine, probably about 6, maybe as high as 12, right? So there's obviously a market. Like there's obviously a need for people to get this angel investment.
100%. Yeah. The pre-seed stage is growing too.
Don't take this the wrong way. I'm afraid that having this extra railing for people to hold on to will put even more demand into the angel investment space, right? So when you say you're bringing angels in, are you going to import them? Because it almost feels like you might have to.
But yes and yes, we think that money from other zip code spends just as good here.
And I don't think you have a choice.
And we also kind of informally do what we call the venture tourism here. So we bring funders and corporates in on a regular basis, and we show them our unfair tour of Pittsburgh.
Nice.
Whatever their lens is on what they think would be cool. Life sciences guys, we show them McGowan. Everybody asked to be in an autonomous Uber during those days.
I don't doubt it.
They always do. They like to see CMU. We show them Pitt. We try to make connections with them. So we're going to use those 6 days that we have throughout the month and a half as an excuse to kind of program opportunities for funds, other national accelerators, and then put them, and celebrate our local funders and investors and accelerators. As well.
I mean, I'm not trying to get you at a gotcha, right?
No.
But if she's doing 1,000 applications right now and she's the top, right? We're not trying to kill Catherine. That's not the move, right?
No.
Let's get that up to 1,500 or 2,000.
No, I don't even think. I think our hope is that we don't. If we provide more throughput, great. But I want those applications, those founders, and those teams to be a little stronger, have a little more context of what's going on.
Yeah.
Where know where the ground beneath them is, know contextually where the resources that mean the most to them.
Yeah.
And then get a better idea internally in that team of is the best move for us. Should we just go make revenue? That is a fine thing. That is a good thing. That cannot be.
I get
damned.
that. Yeah. I mean, I tell people now more than ever, you have to be a smart shopper, even as a founder, because I think we may have accidentally given the false impression that you have to go through a certain circuit, which is not for everybody.
Correct.
Oh, you start here and you
build this kind of company.
Yeah, you get X number of dollars from IW.
You can't.
And then from IW, you go on to this other thing.
And that happens in every region, by the way.
Of course it does. But we have to break that.
Yes.
If you can bootstrap
and
the time isn't so crushing, maybe think about that. Be a smart shopper is my new mantra.
And in entrepreneurship, there is nothing more individual than entrepreneurship, frankly.
Right.
And so there are archetypes to build towards and sectors and everything. But at the end of the day, it is what makes most sense for you, the team, and the market at the time.
Right.
The time. Okay. The timing is much important to this. Venture capital has created some of the most important and transformational companies in the world.
Yes.
And are right for the right model at the right time. But it is not what you should be building towards as an absolute. And as a founder, it's on you to understand the terms too.
Very difficult, though.
Just you have to understand that the industry that you're getting into has a certain. I mean, the rules of engagement are very unique for this industry versus others.
This is why I was bringing up the mentorship thing, right? You need someone who can explain it to you who does not benefit from you misunderstanding.
Correct. And along the way, we want to introduce and provide vernacular and context and real life examples of what it means for the next step, no matter what you're doing. And we're going to hear it from the people. If it's funders, if it's about funding, the people that will be in that room will be funders. If it's about traction, the people will be in that room will be currently garnering success in the marketplace. That is impressive.
You want to know my quick and stupid rule?
Sure.
If they're willing to say it in public, that's it.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
If you get this education in a room full of people who can raise their hand and go, I'm sorry, that's not how that works.
Absolutely.
That's much better than, don't worry, I'll explain it to you. And you get this hush-hush education.
Yeah, we're not. We this is very much.
Oh, I'm not saying that's you.
No, I know. No, the frank conversation. We want to reach a level of familiarity within the cohort. So there is a community. It's important for entrepreneurs too to see that other people are taking this crazy risk that have the same type of disposition of trying to put something into the world that doesn't exist.
Right.
And it's really helpful to see other crazy people like them doing it.
The smart shopper thing has to come from, where are you getting your information from?
Yeah.
Where are you getting your money from? Where did your business plan come from? Every aspect of it is impacted by this. And again, every piece of education you can get where the purveyor can be corrected holds more value in my own, folksy sort of.
And let me add to that by saying that I have never been more stoked to be from here in the space and working around the people we are. Everybody here that is part of the innovation support system to support nascent entrepreneurship and drive it to the next level is doing their full duty of providing as many resources and context as possible.
Yeah.
We're trying to fill in the gaps to make better entrepreneurs that have that kind of a better head on their shoulders and more contextual awareness about what's going on and providing sort of a better path forward that meets them where they are.
That's a lot for the newbie founder to take in, though.
Sure.
And that's not a shot at you. It's just a statement of it's a very difficult landscape to understand at the beginning.
Yep.
Do you have a sense of, this is how I rule myself into Startup Boost, this is how I rule myself out of it, right? Like,
yeah, basically the quick and dirty is you got to be post idea, kind of around MVP, but pre-substantial revenue and funding.
So I should probably have a legal organization.
You have to. You have to be a thing. And you have to have a web presence and an MVP, and you have to be openly telling people that this is a thing. The outcomes we're hoping for, we hope that companies have a better chance. First of all, they move the needle on getting traction and just contact with the market in the form of customers and investors. They understand sort of more of where they lie as a founder and what's next. We want to provide better candidates that get into acceleration, national accelerators that are more viable for potential investment or on a better, maybe faster, stronger track to revenue.
Is it fair to say that a team that has more people probably has a better shot?
No.
Okay.
No, I think it's going to be a nice blend of market opportunity, unique value prop, team strength, tech defensibility, like all the things that make a strong company.
Yeah. Well, people tend to take a look at these things from like a life plan, compete to get into Harvard kind of a thing. And if you don't, again, I try to ask the hard sort of metric questions so people know exactly what it is that we're talking about.
Sure.
I get out of the 6-week program and I want to keep in touch with you. How does that work?
So absolutely. So you became part of an alumni, a global alumni.
Okay. And
I think that the best programs I've seen around the world really leverage that, where the previous class serves as mentors and first customers, and kind of literally stands up and brings them along, the next class along. That's the kind of inertia we want to build too.
I've seen some cool things come out of those relationships.
Yeah.
Actually, Jim, who we were just talking about, that you're doing this with, raves about his experience with Y Combinator in that
Sure.
way.
Literally, entrepreneurship means flying your own flag, but it's really helpful to know that people of the same sensibility are helping fly that.
Yeah. How many LinkedIn contacts do you have? 5 billion.
Yeah.
You can't do them all, right?
Right, exactly.
There's something about having a shared experience as opposed to just liking a person or like really believing in their mission, but sometimes I miss their updates. Like there's something about that, like that fraternal sort of,
Sure.
okay, we did this and we're going to keep in touch forever, right, guys? And a lot of times that turns out to be true in an experience like this because you learn who you are, you change who you are, and the only people who you feel like you can relate to are other people who are similarly changed.
Yeah, I mean, I think all founders have that shared, the starry-eyed madness. Like we all share that sort of belief that we can make the impossible happen, right? Let me wrap up by just saying that if you are building a company and you need more context, networks, access to resources, and want to be held accountable for a month and a half to really dig into this, and your post idea, you have like a minimum viable product, but you haven't gotten any substantial funding or investment yet, take a look at startupboost.org and see if it meets you where you're building.
There you go. Kit Mueller. Finally got you behind the microphone.
Hey, thanks, man. I'm looking forward to this.
Maybe we'll do this again in another couple years.
I hope so.
Catch you then. All right, that's all the time we've got. Thanks to Kit and Jim and Mitch and everybody making Startup Boost go. Be sure to get those applications in if you think you want to join. I would love to find